The man worth up to $200 billion spent his childhood cleaning toilets for 100 teenage boys at a reform school in rural Kentucky. He was 9 years old. He did not choose to be there. His relatives sent him by mistake, a mix-up that landed a Taiwanese immigrant child in a strict boarding school designed for troubled American youth. He was bullied, he was small, he spoke with an accent nobody understood, and every morning he scrubbed bathroom floors while boys twice his size walked past without looking down. Today, that boy runs NVIDIA, a company valued at up to $5 trillion, the engine behind the artificial intelligence revolution, and the reason his personal fortune has grown from $3 billion to nearly $200 billion in under 5 years. His name is Jensen Huang, and the question everyone is asking is simple. Is the modest billionaire act real, or is it the best rehearsed performance in Silicon Valley? The 9-year-old janitor. Jensen Huang was born in 1963 in Tainan, Taiwan. His family moved to Thailand, and then, in the early 1970s, his parents sent him and his brother to the United States to live with relatives and receive an American education. The plan was opportunity. The reality was a disaster. Through a series of miscommunications and logistical errors, the two boys ended up enrolled at the Oneida Baptist Institute in rural Kentucky, a strict, underfunded reform school for troubled teenagers. Not a prep school, not a boarding academy for gifted international students. A reform school, the kind of place where kids were sent as a last resort before juvenile detention. Picture a 9-year-old boy, small for his age, speaking broken English with a Taiwanese accent, surrounded by teenagers from some of the roughest corners of Appalachia, assigned to clean bathrooms every single morning, not his own bathroom. The bathrooms used by roughly 100 older boys whose hygiene habits left something to be desired. Huang has joked in interviews that he wished those boys would be more careful, but the humor masks what the experience actually was: daily humiliation, physical labor, and the kind of loneliness that rewires a child's brain forever. The bullying was relentless. He was targeted for his size, his accent, his foreignness. Everything that made him different became a reason to push him, mock him, or worse. But inside that brutality, he found something unexpected: friendship. His roommate was a tough, physically imposing teenager who could barely read. Huang struck a deal: he would teach the older boy to read if the older boy would teach him to bench press. Literacy for survival. Knowledge traded for strength. A 9-year-old immigrant teaching a 16-year-old American how to decode words on a page, then lying on a bench while the same kid spotted him through sets that his small frame had no business attempting. It was the first negotiation Jensen Huang ever made. And it worked. After 2 years, his parents finally brought him to Oregon, where the family settled and where Huang rebuilt his life from scratch. He thrived academically. He became a nationally ranked table tennis player, competitive enough to be featured in Sports Illustrated. And as a teenager, he picked up service jobs at Denny's waiting tables, bussing dishes, learning the rhythm of long shifts and low pay. He would later return to that same Denny's booth to sketch out the business plan for a company that would reshape the entire technology industry. From cleaning toilets to writing the blueprint for a $5 trillion empire, and the table where it all started costs $4 for a Grand Slam breakfast. At 9 years old, Jensen Huang cleaned bathrooms for 100 boys and traded reading lessons for bench press training. What is the hardest job you ever worked that taught you the most? Tell me in the comments. From a Denny's booth to $3 trillion. In 1993, Jensen Huang and 2 co-founders launched NVIDIA from a Denny's booth in San Jose, California. The idea was deceptively simple: build better graphics chips. The gaming industry needed faster rendering. Personal computers needed visual horsepower. And Huang believed he could deliver it better than anyone else on the market. The company's GeForce series became the gold standard for PC gaming, the chip that every serious gamer demanded and every competing manufacturer tried to replicate. But here is the move that separated Huang from every other chip designer in Silicon Valley. While the world was focused on gaming, NVIDIA quietly developed CUDA, a software platform that unlocked a capability nobody outside the company fully appreciated at the time. CUDA allowed NVIDIA's graphics chips to perform massive parallel computations, processing thousands of mathematical operations simultaneously instead of one at a time. For gaming, this meant prettier explosions and smoother frame rates. For artificial intelligence, this meant everything. When ChatGPT launched in late 2022 and the AI revolution detonated across every industry on the planet, the entire world suddenly needed the exact chips that NVIDIA had been quietly building for over a decade. Data centers that had been ordering chips by the hundreds started ordering by the thousands. Companies that had never heard of GPU computing were now bidding against each other for delivery slots. The demand was not incremental, it was exponential, a vertical line on a chart that made supply chain managers lose sleep and competitors scramble to reverse engineer a decade of research in 12 months. Every major tech company, Microsoft, Google, Meta, Amazon, Tesla, lined up to buy NVIDIA's AI accelerators as fast as the fabrication plants could produce them. By mid-2024, NVIDIA's market capitalization surpassed $3 trillion. The company briefly became the most valuable on Earth, touching $5 trillion in 2026. And Jensen Huang's personal net worth, which had sat at a respectable but unremarkable $3 billion in 2019, rocketed past $90 billion, then $140 billion, and at its peak, touched approximately $200 billion, a 60-fold increase in under 5 years, from a man who sketched his first business plan on a Denny's napkin. But here is the detail that most people miss. Approximately 96% of Huang's wealth is locked in NVIDIA stock. It is not cash. It is not diversified across hedge funds and real estate portfolios. It is equity tied directly to the performance of a single company in a single industry during a single technological moment. His annual executive compensation between $30 and $50 million is almost a rounding error compared to the value of his shares. If NVIDIA dips 10%, Huang loses more in a day than most Fortune 500 CEOs earn in a decade. His fortune is enormous. It is also precarious. And that tension between staggering wealth and absolute fragility defines everything about how he lives. The billionaire who doesn't buy yachts. And this is where the modest billionaire narrative gets interesting, because when you actually look at how Jensen Huang spends his money, the restraint is almost eerie. His total real estate portfolio is worth approximately $53 million. For a man worth up to $200 billion, that is the equivalent of someone worth $1 million owning a house worth 26 cents. The math is absurd. The lifestyle is not. The primary residence is an 11,400 square foot limestone mansion in San Francisco's Pacific Heights, one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in the country, valued at roughly $38 million. It is a beautiful home. It is not Antilia. It is not a 27-story private skyscraper with a snow room and 600 servants. It is a house large, elegant, and fundamentally normal by the standards of people who run trillion-dollar companies. Alongside it sits a $7 million estate in Los Altos Hills, near NVIDIA headquarters, a practical investment for a CEO who works in human hours and needs a bed close to the office. And an oceanfront property in Maui's Wailea resort community, valued at approximately $7 to $8 million, a vacation home on a gated beach. Comfortable, not obscene. And here is the list of things Jensen Huang does not own. No super yacht docked in the Mediterranean. No private island surrounded by turquoise water. No fleet of exotic cars sitting in a climate-controlled underground museum. No vanity space company burning through billions for press coverage. No personal media empire. No sports franchise purchased for bragging rights at cocktail parties. No gold-plated bathroom fixtures, which is ironic, given how many bathrooms he cleaned as a child. He uses private jets for international business travel, a concession to security and scheduling that virtually every CEO at his level makes. But there are no reports of a personal fleet, no custom-fitted Boeing 747 with a master bedroom suite, no aviation vanity project. NVIDIA's company culture reflects this same frugal discipline from the top down. Some vice presidents reportedly fly economy class on business trips, a practice so unusual in Silicon Valley that it borders on corporate mythology. His philanthropy flows through the Jen and Lori Huang Foundation. $50 million donated to Oregon State University for an AI and innovation center. $30 million to Stanford for an engineering facility. And in a move that closes one of the most unlikely loops in billionaire history, approximately $2 million donated back to the Oneida Baptist Institute, the reform school where he once scrubbed toilets as a 9-year-old. The school named a building Huang Hall in his honor. The janitor came back and put his name on the wall. A $200 billion net worth and a $53 million real estate portfolio. No yacht, no island, no sports team. Is Jensen Huang genuinely modest, or is he just smarter about hiding it? Tell me what you think. The torturer in a leather jacket. Now here is the part that breaks the humble CEO narrative wide open. Because behind the calm public demeanor, the soft voice, the black leather jacket that has become his trademark, the dad joke delivery at press events, sits a leader whose management philosophy would make a drill sergeant flinch. Jensen Huang has publicly stated that he rejects work-life balance, not as a slogan, as an operating principle. He works nearly 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When he is not working, he is thinking about working. He has described his relationship with NVIDIA not as a job or a passion, but as something closer to an obsession, a compulsion that does not turn off when the lights go down. Inside NVIDIA, the culture reflects its founder. 60-plus-hour weeks are standard. Accountability is extreme. Huang is a relentless perfectionist who constantly critiques, questions, and pushes employees toward a standard that he himself admits is intentionally unreachable. He has compared his management style to strict Taiwanese parenting, never satisfied, always expecting more, never telling a child they are good enough, because the moment they believe it, they stop improving. In one interview, he said he would rather torture employees into greatness than let them coast into mediocrity. That is not a metaphor the PR team would have approved. That is a man telling you exactly who he is. The contrast is jarring. In public, Huang is warm, approachable, and quick, with a self-deprecating joke about his cooking or his table tennis game. Inside the building, he runs a machine with the emotional temperature of a submarine at crush depth, everyone performing at maximum capacity, knowing that the man at the top expects perfection and views anything less as a personal failure. The leather jacket is not a costume. It is armor, and the smile is not a mask. It is the controlled surface of a man whose inner intensity would crack the composure of most executives on the planet. The arms dealer question. And then came the moment that showed the world what lives underneath the calm exterior. In a 2026 podcast interview, Jensen Huang was asked about selling AI chips to China, a topic loaded with geopolitical tension, export controls, and accusations that NVIDIA was profiting from both sides of an AI arms race. The interviewer pushed, and Huang pushed back hard. His voice shifted. The soft-spoken CEO disappeared. In his place stood a fighter who had been scrubbing bathroom floors at 9 years old and trading bench press lessons for survival at a reform school where nobody wanted him. He leaned forward, eyes locked on the interviewer, and rejected the premise of the question with a line that landed like a slap across the table. "You are not talking to somebody who woke up a loser." The sentence hung in the air. The room went quiet. The interviewer paused, recalibrated, and tried a different angle. But the damage was done not to Huang, but to the image of the humble tech CEO who supposedly floats above confrontation. This was not floating. This was a man planting his feet and daring the world to push him. Huang continued arguing that keeping Chinese developers inside the NVIDIA ecosystem benefits American strategic interests, that walking away from the Chinese market would hand competitors an opening that would be impossible to close, and that the decision to sell chips is not about morality, it is about leverage. Critics have called Huang an arms dealer for AI, a man profiting from the infrastructure of intelligence on both sides of a superpower rivalry. The accusation targets NVIDIA's business model, not Huang's personal character, but the distinction blurs when the CEO owns 96% of his fortune in company stock. Every chip sold in Beijing adds value to his shares in Santa Clara. The incentive is structural, the debate is real, and Huang's willingness to engage it head-on without diplomatic hedging or rehearsed deflection tells you more about the man than any charity donation or real estate portfolio ever could. The same pattern emerged with the gaming community. When NVIDIA launched its AI-based DLSS 5 technology, hardcore gamers criticized the system for degrading artistic quality, replacing handcrafted visual detail with AI-generated approximations. Huang's first response was blunt dismissal. The critics were completely wrong. But weeks later, on a podcast, he softened, acknowledging the gamers' perspective, recognizing their attachment to craftsmanship, and admitting the technology needed refinement. conviction followed by reflection, a fist followed by an open hand. It is the rhythm of a man who fights first and processes later, but always processes. The mask and the fighter. So here is the verdict. Is Jensen Huang the modest billionaire the internet wants him to be? The answer is yes and no, and the gap between those two answers is where the real story lives. He owns a $38 million mansion. He flies private. He runs a company that generates hundreds of billions in annual revenue. By any normal standard, that is not modest. But at $200 billion in net worth, his real estate portfolio represents less than 0.03% of his fortune. He could buy an island every morning before breakfast and never notice the withdrawal. He does not. He could commission a super yacht that makes Roman Abramovich's Eclipse look like a fishing boat. He has not. He could build a 27-story private skyscraper in San Francisco and staff it with 500 servants. The thought has apparently never crossed his mind. Modesty at this scale is relative. And relative to what $200 billion could buy, Jensen Huang lives like a man who still remembers what it felt like to clean someone else's toilet. But modest is not the same as gentle. The man who donated $2 million back to his reform school is the same man who tortures employees into greatness and told a podcast host he does not wake up a loser. The calm exterior is not a lie, it is a controlled surface, a disciplined shell built over decades of hardship, starting in a bathroom in Kentucky and hardened through 30 years of running one of the most demanding companies in the world. The leather jacket, the quiet voice, the self-deprecating humor, it is all real. And underneath it is a fighter who has never stopped fighting since the day he was dropped into a reform school at 9 years old, with no parents, no language, and no way out, except forward. From cleaning toilets at 9 to controlling $200 billion at 63, is Jensen Huang the most authentic billionaire alive, or the best at playing the part? Tell me your verdict. Before you go, here are 3 strategic truths from this story. First, the hardest years are the ones that build the deepest foundations. Jensen Huang did not attend an elite prep school. He attended a reform school for troubled youth. He did not have a mentor. He had a roommate who could not read, and the discipline forged in those 2 years, scrubbing floors, trading literacy for bench presses, surviving bullying by finding allies in the most unlikely places, is the same discipline that built NVIDIA into a $5 trillion company. The bathroom came first. The boardroom came second. And the man never forgot which one made the other possible. Second, the most dangerous wealth is the wealth that depends on one bet. 96% of Huang's fortune is locked in NVIDIA stock. If AI demand plateaus, if a competitor cracks the code, if regulation shifts the landscape, his $200 billion could become $50 billion before the market closes. The modesty is not just philosophy. It might be instinct, the instinct of a man who knows that the same wave that lifted him could just as easily pull him under. Third, true modesty is not about what you spend. It is about what you remember. The reform school janitor, who became the most valuable CEO in technology, did not name a building after himself for vanity. He named it because that building is where his story started, in a bathroom, with a mop, surrounded by boys who did not care about his accent that he turned into a voice the entire world now listens to. Jensen Huang is modest, not because he cannot afford excess. He is modest because he still remembers what it felt like to have nothing, and that memory is more valuable than anything $200 billion could ever buy. If this story changed the way you see wealth and character, hit subscribe and turn on notifications for Billionaire Story, because next time, we are pulling back the curtain on another fortune that defies every assumption you thought you had about money and power.